It just and our we had been entrepreneurs, and so we just had a very different perspective on what we actually needed from our venture firms, and so we just had a very different view than the
Right.
incubators had, and then the existing VCs just for whatever reason couldn't put themselves in that
Yeah.
mentality. I think because they hadn't been entrepreneurs.
They hadn't been customers of the VC product, so
Right.
they weren't looking at it through that lens. They were looking at it, from the provider. And by the way, those businesses were all great businesses. So, they sort of earned the right to be arrogant in that sense.
Yeah. And I remember Bill Gross, when he was talking and I met him, it was all like, okay, I have all these ideas.
No, that was also that,
and
right?
there was that, right?
Go hire an entrepreneur.
And you guys had come from a completely different lens where you had the ideas and believed that, Larry Ellison, those people had the ideas, not the financial machinery, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously you had absorbed the Ovid's playbook, right? So it's a very different version of a platform from an incubator.
Yeah, and as you know, I mean, that's so basically what we did when we had to find a historical model for what we were doing. It turned out to be CAA, because that just mapped much more to what we had in mind, because there hadn't been a precedent like that applied in the Valley.
Yeah, and at that time, it was before Ovitz's book came out, so that whole strategy was basically a secret. Nobody knew it. Like you had to know Ovitz to know it, and Ovitz was very secretive.
Yes.
We had like several conversations before we could actually get it out of him, even though he was out as CAA for many years. It was like a very secret formula he had come up with, and it was an amazing thing.
But it ended up being a genius thing to have him on your board. Like, it was a very unorthodox pick, like looking in from the outside, and it led to all kinds of useful connections and useful thinking, right?
Yeah, that's right.